I'd like to change direction and bring up another topic, perhaps less serious, but, perhaps related. And I'd like to talk about, did you see the Isaac Choniter interview with Cass Sunstein this week? It's been burning up Twitter. Everyone's been laughing at it. But, I'm just wondering if you saw it, and if so, what'd you make of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, granted, Cass Sunstein comes off like a fucking boob here. And I think every single interview I've ever seen with him, he's just, even the most polite interviewers, it seems like the fundamental premise of the 30th book you've written this year is really stupid. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Actually, it is pretty, and I should probably kill myself. But I'm writing another. But I don't know, it's sort of it's like if Isaac Chotiner did an interview with a homeless guy and was like, you said you needed a new ID, but you don't even have a wallet. What Cass Sunstein, the next Democratic administration, whatever it is, Cass Sunstein they're going to give him that 2-piece puzzle from the Biden meme and be like, here, work on this. He is so out of it. He is, he's not doing anything.
Well,
he reminds me of Young Jock. Do you remember how every time you would go on fucking daily, you would go on Daily Loud, and there was a horrible year for Young Jock where every week it was Young Jock caught driving Uber. Young Jock has a stupid new hairstyle. They looked at Young Jock's chain and it turns out it's completely fake. He's the liberal Young Jock. And it's can we stop? Can we take it easy on him a little?
Obviously, anyone who picks up the phone to talk to Choniter is going to be made to look foolish.
Except me. Well, this would not there's a reason he's never fucking called me. He knows how he would, for me, it would be like a spider's web. I would sort of I would tell people that I know who he would talk to in advance. I would be like, tell Isaac that you think my Drake impression is really bad and potentially racist and offensive. And he would think he was going to get me. And then I would do my Drake impression and will be like, oh my God, it's really good. Well, oh my God, I was wrong.
The thing in this interview that everyone picked up on and is making fun of is when Cass talks about how he was good friends with Henry Kissinger. And he was good friends with Henry Kissinger because he came to his book party about Cass Sunstein's Star Wars book. And
okay, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy is on nothing. This guy is not doing. The Star Wars book went wood. No one bought that.
Okay, well, Felix, the thing that interested me the most in this interview was I was just like, holy shit. Because when I was reading the interview and he was just like, Henry Kissinger really liked my book about Star Wars, I was like, surely he's talking about the Reagan satellite defense program, right? He's not talking about the movies. Indeed, he is talking about the movies. And this is in the context of hey, your wife Samantha Powers and you have styled yourselves as the liberal human rights defenders, but you happen to be close personal friends with a guy who's personally killed millions of people. How do you feel about that? And he's like, it's funny. I feel, a lot of people feel that way about Henry, but I know him as a very generous man and friend. He came to my book party about Star Wars and said, hey, your book about Star Wars sounds interesting. So I was just dumbstruck that this fucking boob, this moron, wrote a book about Star Wars and is considered one of the leading liberal intellectuals. And by the way, the whole purpose of the interview was Sunstein's new book is about how liberalism ain't going away. It's still good. And I think he did a really good job of basically summing up what liberalism is in 21st century America, which is liking Star Wars and being good friends with Henry Kissinger. Now, Felix, I did this solely to wind you up and annoy you, but I got a copy of Cass Sunstein's Star Wars book.
Before we get into it, I love how his entire point about how there are two sides to Henry Kissinger was that actually, he was really nice to me about my Star Wars book, but when you read it, it's like Kissinger is obviously like being a huge asshole to him about this stuff. Like, he clearly thinks it's the dumbest fucking thing he's ever heard of, and he's being a huge dick. And it's like, I'm kind of on Kissinger's side in this instance, and in most instances, by the way. In fact, the only thing we don't like about him is that he had an age gap relationship. All the others, that's why people always say he's the worst guy, because he was like 72 and his wife was like 43. But everything else is we love, including this, where he's like, Cass Sunstein asked him, like, hey, I wrote a book about how Gringo Bobo is the world's first fucking, power grid czar or whatever. And Henry Kissinger literally asked, he's like, why did you write a book about Star Wars, you fucking dolt? And Cass Sunstein, he goes to the book party, and Cass Sunstein gives a stupid talk about his shitty book. And then Kissinger's like, well, I thought you were pretty stupid for writing this book, but yeah, it turns out there's a lot of families and power in the Star Wars, and it's like, you could say that about you could say that about the Cat in a Hat. You could say that about like Redwall, and it was still like. Hey, Redwall is good. It's a better work than Star Wars. It's a great children's book, but it would still be ridiculous for like a 63-year-old like erstwhile regulator and intellectual of Democratic administrations to write a book where he's like, real life and Redwall actually quite similar. I start my morning with delicious toast.
We love eating delicious acorn pie. And the thing about Redwall is most people are mice, but some of them are rats, and the rats have to be though.
I've been saying this
some people
for years.
Some people are shrews though. Some people are also shrews and
Do you
and
know
weasels.
that rats have been kicked out of 120? No, Brian Jacques would never say. Brian, I feel
no more
so
Redwall
bad.
slander. No more Redwall
I feel
slander.
so bad when I make Redwall jokes because Brian Jacques is like the sweetest guy. Like I read this thing where it's like he has like famously has very lyrical, descriptive passages about food in all those books. And the reason he did that is because he wanted like blind kid to show that like blind kids could appreciate food in a sensory way in literature in this way that's often reserved for like a visual medium, which I think is like that is so incredibly kind. And it makes me think about like how shitty like YA authors are now. Compared to this kindly old man who just wanted to like do the equivalent of like how food looks in anime for blind kids. So I feel terrible every time I make a Redwall joke, even if it's not about Redwall. It's just I'm using it as a springboard to say one of like pretend that he thinks the rats are Jews. I feel really bad. And if you were Brian Jacques' family or his kids or you're him reincarnated, I'm so sorry.
We fuck with Martin the Warrior here on this show. But Felix, here's the actual quote from the piece of Kissinger just being an asshole to the cast. And that's the funniest thing is like both Kissinger and Isaac Chotiner are being mean to Cass, but like he's such an obsequious toady to everyone around him, he really doesn't realize it. Listen to this. He says, I'll tell you a story. I wrote a book a few years ago on Star Wars. We invited Dr. Kissinger to my Star Wars book party, and he said, you wrote a book about Star Wars? Why'd you write a book about Star Wars? He was puzzled and courteous, but really confused. Then he came to the book party, which was quite generous. He was a busy person. He's probably...
He was a busy person.
He was like 98 years old when this book came out, by the way.
Yeah, what do you mean? Like, was he working at a bar? He was working like the third shift around that time in his life. A busy person. What the fuck are you? I mean, like literally anything would be better to do than to go to this event. But like, what year did his Star Wars book come out?
This came out in 2016.
Oh, Kissinger was doing fucking shit in 2016. Like, oh my God. By the way, the title of this book, I looked it up too, is so like, this is what like a character, a character in The Sopranos who's only like a talking head for a TV segment that's in the background of another more important scene would write. This is like a fourth tier Sopranos character book title. The World According to Star Wars.
It's Childish says, but despite his busyness, he came to the book party. Yeah. And then I gave a talk on Star Wars, and he came up to me afterward and he said, oh, I see why you wrote a book on Star Wars. There's a lot there. It's like about families. It's about governments and freedom. The amount of curiosity and generosity he showed was incomparable. I don't know anyone who showed that level of curiosity and generosity. Yeah, I'll bet. No, yeah, it's like not even my family or friends showed any interest in this book about Star Wars that I wrote. But thankfully, Dr. Kissinger was there. I guarantee you Kissinger like brought a date to this book party, and it was sort of like a dinner for idiots scenario where he was like, I'm going to take you to the shittiest book party in DC. I'm going to laugh at this fucking. Let's. He's like,
this book would be too stupid for you to read, and you're a seventh grader.
Yeah. He says, normally I'm very busy. I have one bowel movement a week. That's what I'm up to. But I'm going to book party. But he says, yeah. But okay. I was fascinated by this because like. It's just one of those things that like this is the perfect representation of Cass Sunstein's brain. Like, I really need to like make clear here. Cass Sunstein was like one of these policy guys that like is just sort of like good policy is all about nudging stupid people into making better decisions, you know, rather than giving them healthcare or housing or anything like that. But like the thing that most galls me about Cass Sunstein is that he's married to that. It's married to Samantha Power, another great book writer whose famous book is about U.S. policy as it regards to us failing to prevent genocides from happening. Hasn't said a word about Gaza in the last 2 years. Silent.
Yeah.
Like just a dead air from her. And like the fact that you can like her and her awful husband can be friends with Henry Kissinger, and while claiming the mantle of like human rights activists, and also completely staying silent on the active genocide that this country is actively taking part in, says as like while they're fucking paying attention to Star Wars, says to me is like the perfect representation of like modern American liberalism. But
Samantha Power was in charge of USAID under Biden, and she said like. Look, I think people they're so surprised by the fact that Cindy McCain is doing this. They kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Cindy McCain is in charge of some like UN program with specifically like food relief for refugees. And she has been like very pointed and direct about about Israel's very deliberate and obvious starvation. But I mean... she's still like repeated Israeli government talking points, and like my point is like with Cindy McCain, people are so surprised that like she's so showing like some backbone that they kind of like overrate her her moral consistency with this, I guess you would say.
Well, she's still light years past Samantha Power.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like. Because someone like think about this, like 30 years ago, like, God damn it, even someone under like George W. Bush would have said more than Samantha Power, just because they would think, well, it's kind of insane for me to be the aid person ostensibly and not say fucking shit about this.
Yeah.
Like, Cass Sunstein, I sort of think that this is like a switched in a manger thing. Like, I think he might be a stupid who was switched at birth. And there's like a trading places thing going on because he's just so guileless. And like, I know that I shouldn't feel bad for him. Like, I know that like someone after the show, someone's going to like send me like all this proof that he like, you know, he like kicked all these people. He told, you know, Bungler to kick people of Medicaid or something. I know, but he's so like confused. He reminds me of Steve Martin in The Jerk. That's what he's like to me. But Samantha Power is like such a horrible, cynical person.
Oh, just
the worst
absolutely
kind
soulless.
of piece of shit. Yeah.
just like
And
hypocrisy doesn't even begin to touch her, you know?
Yeah. With Cass, I think that like,
the kid who Cass got switched with is actually like would have been a brilliant legal scholar, but he's currently working at a Quick Trip in the Midwest or something.
Yeah. He's like, he runs the best Quiznos in the Lehigh Valley. Like for some reason his Quiznos is like super efficient, and like the bread tastes better than any other Quiznos. But yeah. Cass, I think he probably, like with most of these guys, like he has kids who are like, Dad, all your friends are committed the worst crime of the 21st century. And he's like, wow, the Palestinians are a lot like Ewoks. Like that's the deepest he could think about this. Samantha Power, though, is like a conscious, like she's made the choice to be evil.
But long digression. But can we turn to Cass Sunstein's Star Wars book, because I got a copy of it, and I know it's going to drive you insane, Felix. But like I said, I was dumbfounded that this guy wrote a book about Star Wars, and I was just like, can it be like, okay, the only way to do it is just to read it to you from the introduction. Okay,
all right.
This is the only thing that makes sense here.
We'll test my limits of like how kind-hearted I can, because I've been really nice to him, saying that he's like one of the stupids from the book Brave New World who was switched at birth. Been really nice to him, so we'll see. Yeah. We'll test my limit.
This is introduction, learning from Star Wars, and it begins with the epigraph.
Oh my god! If your kid is learning from Star Wars, you have to send them to a funny farm. You have to send them to a Rosemary Kennedy style sanitarium where they lobotomize you.
It begins with
you should not be capable of learning anything from Star Wars if you are gifted with literacy.
If you are lettered, you should, if when someone asks you to make your mark on a document and you can sign your name instead of using an X,
if you even know most of the alphabet.
It begins with this epigraph from Joseph Campbell. All the gods, all the heavens, all the hells are within you. Joseph Campbell. That's how he begins this book. And he says here, as of early 2016, the Star Wars franchise has earned about $32 billion. Of that amount, $6.25 billion came from box office, nearly $2 billion from books, and about $12 billion from toys. That's the first sentence of this book, by the way. And he goes, moreover, its earnings are rapidly climbing. With the spectacular success of The Force Awakens, they're exploding. And now...
This is so on cinema. This is so...
Runtime, 2 hours, 5 minutes.
This is very... it's... I hear this in Greg Kirkendon's voice.
And by the way, the whole introduction to this book is predicated on the idea that the Force Awakens is a beloved movie.
That movie caused the election of Donald Trump.
Yes, it did.
No one remember. Yeah, when the little white cuck ball. Actually, was that the one that came out?
No, that little white cuck ball. That was the first one. That was Force Awakens.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know anything about the new movies.
Okay. He says here,
but yeah, it caused the election of Donald Trump, and I remember Ryan Johnson became a big Russiagate guy because he thought Russia
tanked the Last Jedi reviews.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I believe this book came out before The Last Jedi was released, but he says here, the numbers do not come close to telling the tale. Quantify everything you cannot. Didn't Yoda say that? In terms of politics and culture...
I don't know. You're writing the book about Star Wars, asshole. You tell me.
Star Wars is everywhere. In the 1980s, Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative was commonly called Star Wars. After the appearance of The Force Awakens in December 2015, President Barack Obama closed the news conference this way. Okay, everybody, I gotta go get Star Wars. In the same week, Hillary Clinton ended the national Democratic debate with the words, "May the Force be with you." And also in that week, Republican candidate Ted Cruz tweeted, "The Force, it's calling to you. Just let it in and tune in to tonight's CNN debate." So he's covered the full spectrum of American politics of dum-dums who love Star Wars. And it's just like, reading this, I'm like, we are a nation of babies with like 30,000 nuclear weapons. Like, that's what this makes me think.
Yeah, even like Viktor Orban will like quote, like The Tempest or something.
Yeah, right.
Like even the shittiest, dumbest asshole from the worst country, like whoever is in charge of Lithuania, like the leader of the anti-witchcraft party since 2015, who's like, in charge of that dump. They probably, when they make speeches, they're probably like, well, as they said in 100 Years of Solitude, if they talked about Star Wars in this way, they would be booted out of Lithuania. They would be sent on the fastest horse-drawn carriage out of that country.
Goes, drawing on Westerns and 1960s comic books, committed to liberty and audacious about hope, Star Wars is bipartisan and all-American. At the same time, its appeal is universal. Obsession with
same time, those aren't fucking... That's... Do you know the alphabet, Cass?
He goes,
this is a case of a book not being edited because everyone they brought this in front of I mean, you would know. Like, did you, when you were working as a publisher, did you have people who wrote books like this and it was like just too many assistant editors killed themselves when this was brought to their desk, and just no one ever edited it. So there are these gigantic mistakes in there.
Well, I work for a reputable publishing firm, so we indeed edited carefully all of our books. But I know the feeling, shall we say? He writes here, Star Wars is bipartisan and all-American. At the same time, its appeal is universal. Obsession with the series is hardly limited to the United States. In late 2015, I traveled to Taiwan to give a series of lectures and to meet with the nation's president and its constitutional court. We discussed human rights, regulation, and the world economy and Taiwan's complex relationship with China. But everyone also wanted to talk about Star Wars. By the way, sorry, Taiwan, you had a good run of it, but if this is true, President Xi, you may fire when ready.
Yeah, that does not augur well. I mean, unless Taiwan is there. There are a lot of places like this where the place becomes, it is a figure of fun among online people. People love saying, they're going to nuke Taiwan, and they don't know that if you go on Weibo or any of the Chinese Twitters, they think Taiwanese people are awesome, and they love how good they are at making chips. And so going off that, I think Taiwan, they actually know how to deal with their Cass Sunsteins. They probably create like a fake politics for them to participate in. And Cass Sunstein thought he was speaking to like the most important people in Taiwan, and really it was their Cass Sunsteins that they probably relegate to some small archipelago, deep, far away from anything that matters, far away from the chip factories,
from the microprocessors.
Yeah, far away. And for Cass, he was like, "Oh my God, I met the most important guys there." And it's like, no, you met the Taiwanese you.
He writes, the saga is big in France, Germany, Italy, Nigeria, and the United Kingdom. They love it in Israel, Egypt, and Japan. And it successfully invaded India, too. Until 2015. It successfully invaded India? Who is he, Alexander? What is this, Alexander the Great?
It's just so funny, like, why... they love it in all these places. It invaded India.
I know. He's just casting about, because like it's just like he's trying to find a way to say like he's trying to wring a paragraph out of saying Star Wars is popular everywhere in the world, and then he's just like, okay, it's big in France, Germany, and Italy. They love it in Israel, Egypt, and Japan. And then he's like, gotta use. So, okay, it's invaded India as well. They don't love it, but they're being forced to watch it. Yeah, they hate it. They hate Star Wars, but they're forced to at gunpoint.
Genghis Khan brought it over. They still have a giant resentment over it. This, God, like this is like an annoying, like fruity child, embarrassing memory. But I would when I was like in middle school, I would read you know, the lib magazines we had at my house. Like I would read like Harper's. You remember like Harper's Index? I would read the Harper's Index.
Oh, I love the Harper's Index.
It would terrify me as an 11-year-old. You know, because if you're reading in like 2002, it was stuff that was like, you know, 12 billion barrels of oil are produced a day. It takes 1 barrel of oil to ruin 1 swamp forever. And I would be like, oh no, we have to stop it. But I would read like the New Yorker and shit because and not really understand what the fuck, you know, because I would read like these.
I read it for the cartoons about dogs and therapy.
I hated the fuck out of the cartoons, but I would read things and just not understand a word of them. Like I would read like the fiction where it was about like, you know, an allergist who gets a blowjob from his cousin's friend.
My dad edited that one.
Sorry. No, I mean, but I and then I would read the worst part of the New Yorker, Hendrik Hertzberg being like, here's what happened in the news this week. And when I would have to write essays at school, I would be like, oh, I should try to sound like the New Yorker because that's like good writing. And an 11-year-old trying to like write like Hendrik Hertzberg, that's what this is like.
Yeah,
it's the same like yeah,
it has that cadence of like precocious child who's padding out, who has like a really like an idea, has to express an idea that's so simple it's like not worth expressing. Like, let's see if we can wring a couple paragraphs out of this. I'll list some countries, and then it successfully invaded India. Okay, going on, he writes, until 2015, it wasn't allowed to be shown in China, but the force has now awakened there as well. No, President Xi, you must stop this. Because like, really, because like before I read this stupid book and interview with with Kaz Sunstein, I'd be like, come on, China, people can see some Star Wars. No, they can't. This is poisonous propaganda of the worst kind. This will just take away the soul of any person who is exposed to this drivel.
Yeah, no,
they will become willing dupes for U.S. and imperial hegemony if they fucking watch even 1 second of a Star Wars property.
Star Wars is one of the worst things we have put into the world, and I love George Lucas as a person.
Oh, he's a man.
I think he's I love him. He's so funny. I think it's awesome that he made like $3 billion off this bullshit. I love how much he hates his fans. He's earned every fucking right.
I love his long cars.
I don't think he meant to cause the Black 9/11 by playing that song so loud. Shout out to Cole for one of the best posts of all time. If people don't know what we're talking about. That is such a funny post. But I like Star Wars, and it's not even George Lucas's fault that people did all this bullshit with Star Wars.
Yeah,
it really is not.
I like these movies when I was a kid too. Like, it's I did too. It's not wrong with liking Star Wars, but there is definitely something wrong with writing a book like this about Star Wars or using Star Wars as like a veil through which you think that like all of human history and politics can be like anything useful can be gleaned from.
Yeah, you know what? Like, that's where things went wrong. Star Wars is like a totally fun thing to get into when you're a kid, and it's totally fine to have like good memories of it, to go back and watch them, blah, blah, blah. But if Star Wars should, if it really, really appeals to you as a kid, the thing that should happen is it causes you to get into like Gene Wolfe and like Dune. Like that type of shit. And we used to understand that there were like, there was entry level like science fiction and fantasy that got you into the more the socially alienating good stuff. Yeah. But Star Wars is like, people just get stuck. They get mired in Star Wars. They never leave Star Wars. That's what's so fucked up about it. just permanently sticks you in the mire of like adolescence.
Yes, exactly. Because you have an adolescent baby brain well into adulthood, and like you're also happen to be one of the most influential liberal legal scholars who's worked in several presidential administrations, and you have the mind of an 11-year-old.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to one of the greatest Chicagoans of all time, K.A. Applegate, the author of Animorphs. That's how you seriously, Animorphs, that is how you write like a children's YA thing. Because it is Animorphs, if people remember, they had some like pretty grim endings in those books. The good guys, they didn't just like lose, they would like an alien would go into their ear and like kill their personality. Like it was really fucked up, like fucked up and grim for a book for like 8-year-olds, but it like it onboarded the concepts of like, you know, bad things happening to protagonists and sometimes things actually seeming hopeless in such a way that it like inoculated you enough that you could get into things like Dune or Metal Gear Solid when you were, you know, when you reached puberty. With Star Wars, it's like the fact that it's so like the ending to Star Wars is so like the first 3 movies is so disqualifying. It's the same reason Lord of the Rings sucks. Lord of the Rings was the first Star Wars.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings ruined a generation of Anglos.
Well,
and
like,
Star Wars, same thing.
Well, you know what? And it's like, I think there is a direct line between like investing so much of your identity into like into these heroic fantasies like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, and like, look, I don't want to shit on you if you like Star Wars or Tolkien. Like, I don't think they're irredeemable, but like, it does seem to be a preoccupation of people like Kaz Sunstein, of which he is like a perfect avatar of, who use whatever talent or power or influence they have to like meticulously hold like 2 diametrically like opposing things in their head at all times, which is that like genocide is bad and human rights are the most important thing America needs to support, but also Henry Kissinger is my good friend and a nice guy and really like not so terrible once you get to know him. You know what I mean? Like that you can like absorb and like explain away any amount of like imperial violence or racism given like your position working for those exact same systems of domination and exploitation, but just be like, I'm on the good side. I believe in the light side of the force. I'm like Luke Skywalker. And I think it is like you have to have this childish fantasy of heroic redemption and like an ultimate clash between good and evil to like inoculate yourself from like the moral complexities and like evil of the world as it actually exists.
Yeah. And it is, I don't know. It's sort of like, I equate Star Wars to Lord of the Rings because they're the same sort of thing of like morality without any choice. Like it just, obviously people do heroic things and are self-sacrificing in those things. But for the most part, it's just like, from the moment you see them, they either are heroic or they're evil.
Well, Felix, a little bit later in the introduction, he actually says that one of the reasons Star Wars is such an important myth is because it's all about choice. But the choice is like, do I be good or evil? And like, that's just
that's
not how
a fucking choice.
Like, it's just sort of like, well, you know, you should always choose the good side of the force instead of the evil one. And it's just sort of like you are evil, Cass. Like, you are pure fucking evil.
Yeah.
You and your Harridan wife are fucking 2 of the most evil people alive. And like, it's just sort of like, this is how you inoculate yourself from any like nagging morality or conscience is with this, I'm sorry, propaganda for babies that you invest all this meaning and fucking like some sort of like, I don't know, gravity to.
It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing as the Trump guys who like all day they're like, we did a Studio Ghibli AI filter over a child being stomped to death by a 58-year-old ICE agent. Isn't that so fucking based? And then they post like some fucking obnoxious, boring Tolkien thing about good and evil, and they love Lord of the Rings. And it's like, you're a fucking orc. You think you're Aragon, but no, because you love this stupid baby view of the world where you are like Aragon or the hobbits or whatever the fuck. You were born fundamentally good, and your enemies are literally like dirt people made by a Jewish guy. Like right. How it just Metal Gear Solid is about how you have to make choices in your life, and neither your genetics nor even the foundational traumas of your fucking childhood or whatever, your choices are paramount to your moral makeup. And I think they should show that they should make kids play that instead of watching Star Wars or reading Lord of the Rings. I think we should have a big Lord of the Rings book burning ceremony.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. I'm against free speech, and I'm 100% in favor of censorship now, but only for this book. Felix, you ready for the beginning of this next paragraph? Because it begins with a hell of a sentence. Ready for this?
Let's hear it.
In all of human history, there's never been a phenomenon like Star Wars.
Okay, what the fuck is that? That's like so. Yeah. For all the life forms that have ever existed have never made something like Capri Sun, except like okay, like I get that's technically true, but like what point do you think you're making?
And it's also like
you can say that about Ziggy.
Like, you know, it's also kind of like, could we give some credit to, I don't know, Christianity, Islam, the Enlightenment? I don't know. It's like, you know, it's a very popular series of movies and TV shows, but like there's never been a phenomenon like Star Wars in all of human history. He says here, fueled by social media, the whole series has a cult-like following, except that the cult is so large that it transcends the term. It's humanity, just about. A recent Google search of Star Wars produced 728 million results. By contrast, Beatles produced 107 million, Shakespeare 119 million, Abraham Lincoln 69 million. He goes on like this. As evidence of its adaptability, consider the first entry turned up by a Twitter search. Destroy hunger with Star Wars Death Star Peanut Butter Cup.
This is so like... Henry Kissinger probably needed to be resuscitated from laughing himself to death. This is so fucking... Like his argument for how is Google hits...
Yep.
Is he going to release a second edition where he's like, and actually, I didn't realize this until I wrote the book, but Beatles can refer to a band and a bug.
Well, not Beatles,
so
spelled B-E-A-T.
That's all the fans of the musicians and the bug. The third edition is when he finds out they're spelled differently. Turns out, this is why I love writing books. I'm always learning things.
All right, I'm skipping ahead. Listen to this paragraph. Star Wars unifies people. You can live in Berlin or New York, London or San Francisco, Seattle or Paris.
Cities.
These are just like the major Western cities in like the first world. People aren't that different.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my.
It's like you can live in Seattle or Paris. Like holy shit, what a fucking difference.
Yeah, it does. Look, listen to me. It doesn't matter if you live in fucking Michigan or Minnesota. Any of those vastly different places. Again, it reminds me so much of my friend who was like, I did 23andMe and it solved every question I've ever had. My whole life, I thought my family was Norwegian, but we're Danish.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, wow.
He goes, so not whether you live in Seattle, San Francisco, or Paris, like Seattle and San Francisco are just two cities in like the northwest of this country. Like, they're not even that far away from each other. He goes, whether you live in San Francisco, Seattle, or Paris, you'll probably recognize Darth Vader. And you might as well know what the Millennium Falcon is. You do, don't you? Okay, this is great. He's like not even sure that the person reading this book is like on the same page with him.
I don't know why, like the phrase of like recognize Darth Vader is so funny to me. It's like he's so stupid that it's like he for all intents and purposes he might. that he could be disappointed that Darth Vader didn't come to his book party about these books about Star Wars. Like he thinks that Darth Vader is like he became famous by acting in Star Wars, but now he's a senator.
Listen to this. In 2015, the United States and Russia were not especially friendly. There was a great deal of tension between Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama. But when The Force Awakens came out, a high-level Russian official told me, with a bright, boyish smile and something like an acknowledgement of common humanity, that the series is truly beloved in his country and that just about everyone there has seen it. Okay, this is an example of another guy making fun of him to his face.
Well, I mean, even if it wasn't, it's like, okay, well, yeah, things have certainly gotten better since then. The Force Awakens really brought our two countries together.
Unified.
Never been fucking
world,
better. Yeah. Like you could make the argument that since after the end of the Cold War, things fell off a cliff dramatically between the Russia and US after The Force Awakens came out. Like you could easily make that argument that it is like the worst times, worst diplomatic tension, highest risk of nuclear war after The Force Awakens.
By the way, Felix, did you see like the complete 180 that Donald Trump has done on Ukraine now?
Yeah.
This is like, I mean, I know everyone's doling out the fell for it again awards, but like this one is kind of shocking to me. Because like he's now saying, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form.
Well, like, I mean, I don't think it's super surprising because he kind of got the ball rolling with lethal aid to Ukraine. Obama was famously kind of tentative on a lot of it, and Trump like just steamrolled through a lot of that. That was a lot of what Pompeo's bureaucratic accomplishments were enabling more things to be sent to Ukraine. Yeah, that's what made his anti-Zell Disney thing so weird.
Well, that's what I mean about like
because it's like you started this, asshole.
Well, yeah, but like the shit where they like got Zelensky in the fucking Oval Office and just fucking like jammed it up his ass in front of the fucking whole world and told him to say thank you and shit. Like I thought they were getting ready to fucking like kill this guy or just completely cut him off. But now he's going back to like what Zelensky's position is that they should keep fighting until all of Ukraine is restored, including the territory that Russia's already taken. And he goes on to refer to Russia as a paper tiger. And he says, when the people living in Moscow and all of the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find out what's really going on in this war, the fact that he just goes on and like he's like, oh, I thought my relationship with Putin, it turned out it meant nothing. I guess like he came in promising to end this war on day one. It didn't happen. And like, if anything, Russia has been probably emboldened by that Alaska summit that they had where like, I think they realized that like NATO's not going to jump out over this shit. But like, why now is he like saying that to me is crazy because like every indication was that they were getting ready to cut off Ukraine entirely.
But he does this that whenever he is like floundering, which I mean he definitely is right now. Yeah, don't get confused by this Charlie Kirk shit. This, by the way, Charlie Kirk, even after all of this, the best poll I can find, like the most favorable poll for him, has him at like 1 point above water in popularity. So do not get confused by this shit. Like Donald Trump is still like at 2017 levels of unpopularity, probably fucking worse.
And also, he just announced that they're going to bail out Argentina for like $20 billion.
Dude, what the fuck? Like,
he's going to bail out Argentina.
Dude, like, every day is a new humiliation. Like, we do deserve it, but at the same time, it's like we're giving them $30 billion so they can have another year of being like, see, libertarianism work. Like, this is so fucking annoying. But he goes more neocon when he feels like he's back to do a corner because he feels like it's a traditional way of like garnering popularity. And I mean, it is sort of, Josh, Editor Meta pointed this out, that like a lot of Biden like cozying up to Zelensky was the fact that Zelensky was broadly popular while Biden himself was very unpopular. And he was trying to get that to rub off on him. Trump is doing the same thing. I will say, anyone, as the past couple of years have shown, anyone can become Brandon. It doesn't matter race, religion, creed, nationality, gender, whatever. It takes a true fucking master to become more Brandon in an attempt to become more popular.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, I'm the only two people to do that. Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. The only two guys where it's like, holy, like we are in the shitter right now. No one likes us. How do we get more popular? What's some of the stuff Joe Biden did in 2023? Takes a true fucking genius. But no, I mean, again, like, this is case in point about people, their memory not going past, 6 months if you're lucky.
Yeah.
The big reversal was Trump being like, I've never liked Walt Disney. He needs to say thank you. Because he started this whole fucking thing. You sent the javelins, asshole.
I really do like the the Kremlin spokesperson replied to Donald Trump's Truth Social post, and he says here, Russia is by no means a tiger. Russia is traditionally seen as a bear. There is no such thing as paper bears. Russia is a real bear.
Talk about Neil deGrasse
I was like,
Tyson.
okay, Russia, you need to put those bars back in the oven. The response track, you need to work on. You need to let that one cook a little longer.
Yeah. I
love the line. There is nothing paper about a bear.
Kendrick makes you think when he puts it on the
yo, Dmitry Peskov's pen is so fire.
I gotta say though, this is when we were talking about our prognostications about the Trump administration back in like November and December. This is one of the specific predictions we made, was that he is delusional enough that he fully believes his own shit about like making deals now. He's going to try to like end the war in like a week. And when that doesn't happen, that is going to be one of the first setbacks that is going to see him return to mean as far as popularity.
Right.
Obviously, I would say the first real chink in the armor for him was probably the massive austerity. But this is like, I mean, going in there thinking that he could just go, okay, what do we need to get this done? And no one giving a shit. That's pretty much exactly what we thought would happen. And again, who gives a shit if you predict the future? And this was not a hard prediction to make by any means, but it is, I don't know. It is, people are broadly much more predictable than you realize.
Returning to Cass Sunstein's Star Wars book, I adore this paragraph here from the introduction. Quote, "My own parents are long gone, but my mother, a science fiction buff, adored the first movie Star Wars, released in 1977, and later retitled..."
I thought the next sentence was going to be, does anyone know where they are? I'm all alone in the store.
And Cass Sunstein, please come to the checkout aisle. Your mother is waiting for you. And later retitled A New Hope. It seemed a little more confusing to my father, a naval officer in World War II stationed in the Pacific in the 1940s, who knew how to handle a gun. He fought in the Clone Wars, kind of. Can you imagine?
What are you
Can you
talking
imagine?
about?
Okay, like my grandfather was a naval officer who fought in the Pacific in World War II as well, and best as I can tell, it scarred him for life. Imagine like denigrating the memory of your father or grandfather or someone who served in World War II by being like, it's kind of like the Clone Wars. Begun this war World War II has.
Imagine if Captain Spears, like his shitty grandkids, that they're Cass Sunstein types, and they're like, wow, you're just like Bilbo Atom. He's the guy who told Luke Skywalker how to do a fucking loop-de-loop. He would wipe out his own bloodline.
He goes here.
He would gun down his entire family.
My dad loved tennis, cars, and fishing. Not so much lightsabers and droids. I bet he loved you, Cass. But listen to this. This is so good. But he was game for anything, and he saw the movie's charm. Healthy as a Wookiee, he was stricken with brain cancer in his 60s and died young. So he says he's healthy as a Wookiee, but unfortunately he was stricken by brain cancer in his early 60s and died young. Just 4 years after A New Hope was released. He never had a chance.
Killed your father.
He says he never had a chance to meet Ellen, Declan, or Rain. Those are the names of his and Samantha Power's children. But more importantly, he never got a chance to see Empire Strikes Back or The Return of the Jedi.
Look, I get. To defend him, it is like there's a specific, like, if your dad is into a certain type of media and like they just barely miss it, you know, like my dad, I always say, like, he was so close, like just 5 more years, he would have seen his favorite things ever made. He would have gotten to see fucking Banshee. He loved violence. He loved when the protagonist would just make eye contact for 1 second and bang the hottest girl in town. He loved that. He loved, he had this whole crazy conspiracy theory that he's half joking about where John McCain was a Manchurian candidate, but we should vote for him because we deserve it for our crimes in Vietnam. He loved like kind of like very vulgar, gross out stuff. And I think like, oh my God, he would have loved Come Town. He would have been the biggest Stav fan too. And he just fucking missed it. So I get that. But with Cass, it's like, you don't know, like your dad probably liked the Kane Mutiny. He was being nice to you by talking to you about fucking Star Wars well into your 30s. But that's not like, if you could go to Boomer or Greatest Generation Heaven and be like, what are you sadder about missing out on? The Denzel Washington film Flight or the
Equalizer movies? My dad would love the Equalizer movies. I know that.
Yeah,
he hasn't missed. Like, he died more recently than your dad. So unfortunately, my dad has not missed out on anything good in American culture.
No.
Actually, the last movie my dad saw was Uncut Gems, and he fucking loved it. So
that's a good. That's a good one to go out.
Yeah. So I always like heartens me that was the last movie he saw. So because that was a really good movie.
That was a great movie. But yeah, like Kaz doesn't realize. He doesn't like, there's a very specific like tone of speech you get when your dad is humoring you about some stupid bullshit you like.
Yeah.
That Kaz is like 78 and he still can't tell that's what happened.
It's the same reason
as a Wookiee is insane too. Yeah. Like, are Wookiees like is that ever been said in Star Wars where like
they're just big and hairy?
Yeah, are they? Is it like
they'd be like, we gotta take the Millennium Falcon into hyperdrive, Chewie. And if there's one thing I know about Wookiees, they'll never die of brain cancer.
It's just and again, they sound like RFK a little bit. He just, like, again, and this is how you know no one edited it. Healthy as a Wookiee, he died of brain cancer at 65. So is it ironic he died of brain cancer? Is the phrase healthy as a Wookiee cruel irony because are Wookiees more like Great Danes where they're actually notorious for dying very quickly? Like what the fuck? Like this,
it's bad.
Again, the dangers of a first draft.
Yeah. I can't get over my favorite fucking line where he says, healthy as a Wookiee, he was stricken with brain cancer in his early 60s and died young. It's like, it seems like he's not, it seems like he's sort of insulting a lot of the sort of seriousness of, I don't know, world politics and human history with these glib comparisons.
Yeah, but, this is more offensive than the guys who are like, if the guys at D-Day could see rap, they would have killed themselves. Like, you know?
First of all, I think a lot of the guys at D-Day, if they had saw rap, would have been like, that's pretty cool. I like this.
Dude, that stuff pisses me off so much because, like, all the guys who fought in World War II, they became the biggest libs of all time. That was like George McGovern and shit. All the guys who like saw combat, except for Spears, who was Spears was the only apolitical man to ever live. He was really like fucking Solid Snake, where it was just, he really did enjoy all the killing. But everyone else, they saw the worst things that ever happened. They won the last real, non-politically given Bronze Stars, the actual Bronze Star that you would get for killing someone. And they came back and they became fucking George McGovern, Zumwalt, all these libbed out libs.
Well, some of them became Joe McCarthy. Like what?
But Joe McCarthy was a bullshitter. Joe McCarthy bullshitted about all of that. Like I'm talking about the guys who killed people.
Yeah,
who really killed people.
Well, Joe McCarthy was a tail gunner. I'm sure he killed some people, but it was in air combat. You remember
the part in Master of the Senate where he bullshitted about that?
Oh, right. Yeah. All right. Well, look, I feel very confident in saying that, like, at least some of the guys who died on D-Day, if you showed them Christmas Time in Hollis, Queens by Run DMC, they would be like, "This is great. I love what a good Christmas song. I love it."
Yeah, I'm not saying all of them were like that. None of them like came back and were raised, but like a lot of them were fucking libs, and were actually some of the biggest libs we have ever seen. And you could tell that Cass Sunstein's dad was a real lib because he was never like, you're a goddamn adult. Guys twirling around in their robes, fighting each other with fucking lamps. He was like, this is very cool, Cass. By the way, I'm dying.
Just a few more
shitty movie you showed me.
Just a few more things. There's one like sort of paragraph head in the introduction that just says, "Star Wars is our modern myth."
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Oh, God. Oh, my... Will, this is the exact thing I said in the D&D. In the D&D thing where I was... my Jeremy Irons guy goes, the DC universe is sort of a modern-day pantheon of the gods.
Yes. This is like if you were in high school and you were like, okay, you have to turn in a 20-page essay, but it can be about anything you want. I would have been like, Star Wars is our modern myth. It says, when A New Hope was released, most insiders thought it would be a disaster, including William Friedkin. But it says, the studio had no faith in it. Almost nobody liked it. The actors thought that it was ridiculous. George Lucas, as creator, feared catastrophe. All this raises some questions. Why has Star Wars turned out to be such a spectacular success? Is it really awesome? Why is its appeal so enduring? Why has it become our modern myth? What does it have to teach us about culture, psychology, freedom, history, economics, rebellion, human behavior, and law? About the human heart? I'll try to answer all of those questions. It helps that, like a poem or a novel, the Star Wars saga leaves plenty of room for diverse interpretations. No, it fucking doesn't. They're like, what? They're like,
interpretations what are there? You fucking
like, how many?
bold?
What? Okay, is it a critique of empires and a fervent plea for democracy, or just the opposite? Is it really in favor of the light side, or is it secretly in love with the dark? Is the Force good, or is it something inside of us? What do the movies have to say about Christianity, about gender and race, about capitalism, about the meaning of loyalty, about why history takes the turns it does?
Christianity? How could Star Wars cannot coexist with Jesus Christ? All those Protestant how would that fucking work? If just anyone can become magic and shoot lightning or if they're good, like float. Then everyone's a prophet. Then, like, Jesus isn't so impressive after all. I mean, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi has eternal life, and he's nothing special.
Sorry, Felix, my eyes just came across this sentence. The hero's journey has deep psychological resonance.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
It taps directly into the recesses of the human psyche. Whoever you are, it's your tale as well. You'll see. At the same time, Star Wars is keenly alert to the immense power of the two sides of the Force. It demonstrates that for all of us, the choice between light and dark is far from simple. You're kidding yourself and not living a full life if you think that it is. Every human being needs to visit the dark side. Try it. Don't linger.
The dark side, like, you know, if your boss commits the worst genocide of the 21st century and you're like, great job. This is basically just like, you know, Thomas the Tank Engine is so spectacular because it you know, he truly just gets from point A to B.
It's almost just a case of our lives themselves are on rails and can only make predetermined stops.
You know, our lives today are so many loop-de-loops. It's like a roller coaster minus the whimsy of childhood. And it seems as though a man who is also a train, who just gets from one point to the other, delivering his cargo for his kindly conductor, is in some ways the simplest but the best hero of all. You know, Barney just, he simply wants the kids to get along.
You know, the reason Barney is such an enduring mythos in our modern era is that it inculcates many generous and multiple interpretations. Like, is Barney a force of good or evil? Should children clean their bedrooms or should they be left to live in filth?
You know, Garfield is a Dionysian figure.
And what does this all say about...
Quite reminiscent of the goat god Pan. His sort of...
And what does this all say about the vile Harridan baby bop? I don't know why we're doing your Jeremy Irons voice, but I don't think Kath Sunstein speaks like this. All right, just going to read a few more things from this. It says here, Star Wars also makes a bold claim about freedom of choice. Whenever people find themselves in trouble or at some kind of crossroads, the series proclaims, you are free to choose. That's the deepest lesson of Star Wars. That's the twist on the hero's journey. And it's like, I love it because like...
There's no choice in the hero's journey, you fucking dolt!
And that's what I love about that is like, this is what I mean, like, if you have this baby-brained way of seeing the world, then you can countenance all kinds of unspeakable evil and atrocity that takes place in the real world, not just like when the Death Star blows up a planet, but like, for instance, when Henry Kissinger bombs Cambodia and kills like 1 million or so people. You can countenance all things because you can't conceive of a world where most people do not have the freedom to choose anything. And indeed are sort of protecting yourself from like the moral implications that like even in your own good life of education, wealth, and status, you don't really have any freedom of choice either. And that like what appears as choice is really, I don't know, the illusion of it, or that like we are all constrained by like the circumstances of our birth, our genes, are just like a billion other factors that are out of our control every day. And we approach every day thinking like, oh, I'm getting out of bed, I'm making breakfast, I'm going to work, I'm not doing evil, still making the choice all the time to live in the right. But the point is, like, I think this is it's a childlike moral universe to assume this, or think that it's like, I don't know, meaningful, that like a story about how you're free to choose what you do is like very important to world or human affairs.
And it's also like not a thing in Star Wars, really. Like, when was Luke like seriously tempted? His dad like beats the shit out of him and like cuts his hand off and is like, oh, by the way, do you want to like be my son?
I'm like, I suppose someone
like that's not a choice. Like, I'm sorry, like, in Metal Gear Solid 1, we talked about this moment in our episode about it, me and Brendan. My favorite moment in it is right before the first Sniper Wolf boss fight, where Meryl gets like winged and you have to go back and get the PSG-1, and like it's strongly implied that like she's not just the Colonel's niece, it's his daughter. You find that out later. But where Snake has that conversation with Naomi, where she goes, I'm surprised that you're doing this. You don't have the makeup of someone who saves people. You have the genetic makeup of a killer. And Snake goes, I don't care what my genes say. I'm going to save her. And it's a great scene because it's not saying that a our genetic makeup or our foundational memories and experiences don't matter. They matter a lot. The point is with that scene that like this was the first time he actually had the opportunity to choose, because for his entire life before that, he was sort of pre-slotted into just being a hired killer, and he never really thought about it until that moment. It's not that he was choosing to be bad beforehand, but it's like the entire game is about like not just like the choices we make and what experiences and what genetic aspects determine who we are, but really like who actually gets the opportunity to choose. That's like one of the most important things in the game. That like that opportunity to make the choice is sort of the difference making factor sometimes.
And like, yeah, who gets to choose? If you're embedded yourself at like the heights of the American government and like have created a legal and moral architecture that allows them to do what they do, obviously it's very important that you believe that everyone has the freedom to choose. He writes here, the emphasis on freedom of choice, even when its things seem darkest and life is most constrained, is the saga's most inspiring feature. It also has everything to do with the theme, central to the saga, of forgiveness and redemption. And it's just like, once again, to bring it back to Henry Kissinger here, like, where's the freedom to choose for like the millions of victims of this country? Like, if you happen to have been in Vietnam or Cambodia, or if you happen to be Palestinian right now, like, what does him and his awful wife have to say about their freedom of choice right now? Because it seems like they just have the freedom to endure the indescribable and just die silently.
Well, I think for them, that's probably the reason they love that. Well, they could give the hostages back shit so much. That's their choice that they
right.
that they're
exactly,
given.
And then, and the fact that they've chosen the dark side, it makes it okay to kill all of them.
Yeah.
Because
what was the point of him writing this? Like,
I have no idea. All right, here's the last thing I'm going to read from
it's
this.
just like there's no thesis beyond like,
hey, these movies are great. I love them.
Fun. Yeah.
And you know what? You can
one
learn
of the pointless things I've ever
and then
read.
shoehorn in like a bunch of your liberal nostrums about like, the importance of liberal democracy or whatever on top of it. This is the last thing I'm going to read from this. It says here, a lot of people think that the Star Wars movies are about destiny and the ultimate authority of prophecy. Not at all. Impossible to see the future is. Yoda actually says that. That's the hidden message and the real magic of Star Wars, and the foundation of its rousing tribute to human freedom. I'm going to be covering some diverse topics here, including the nature of human attachment, whether timing is everything, how to rank the 7 Star Wars movies, why Martin Luther King Jr. was a conservative, how boys need their mothers, the workings of the creative imagination, the fall of communism, the Arab Spring, changing understandings of human rights, whether the Force Awakens was a triumph or a disappointment, the limits of human attention, and whether Star Wars is really better than Star Trek. That's the introduction to this book. I will not subject anyone to any more of it.
That reminds me of like I've read about like specifically serial killers who videotape their murders and torture of their victims. They get off on like telling people what they're going to do to them.
Yeah.
to get a fear reaction out of them.
One chapter is going to be about how Martin Luther King was a conservative. Do you see? You owe me awe.
Yeah, that is how I felt. I felt like I was tied down and he had a knife to my throat. And that is one of the most threatening paragraphs ever.
Here is Western liberalism's conception of human rights changing. Do you see? Here is Gaza in 2002. Do you see? Here is Gaza now. Do you see?
I am going to tell you why Daniel Patrick Moynihan was more like Yoda than the Emperor.
Begun the budget wars have.
Pull up their pants, they must. Absent their fathers are.
Well, that's this week's selection of evil drivel designed to drive you insane. But like, once again, like I just remember throughout all of the Obama administration, this guy Cass Sunstein kept being brought up as like one of the leading think like elite liberal intellectuals. That's it. Got nothing more on that.
Well,
But like
I
said-
agree. I agree with that. He's the
Yeah.
smartest guy.
No, I think that's it. I think this really
Yeah.
is it. I think Cass, you summed it up, brother. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Cass, we're gonna find your birth parents. Like, honestly, knowing what I know about breeding patterns of the stupids, your parents are probably younger than you. I'm sorry if this applies to anyone who's listening, but it's probably not.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up for there. But I think we handled it with aplomb, Felix.
I certainly agree.